Agriculture involving domestication of plants and animals was developed around 10,000 BC. Traditional hunter gatherer lifestyles followed by humans since their evolution were swept aside in favor of permanent settlements and reliable food supply. Before the domestication of plants and animals, men have developed the ability to control the fire and already started to cook game and fish. Now, the combination of fire and agriculture gives man the opportunity to create something entirely new bread. And bread, since the beginning of the time, has been a prominent food in large part of the world, and it is one of the oldest, if not the oldest, man made food. Bread does not exist in nature as berries, fish, and so on, but is a product of a human intelligence, a human invention only possible combining the richness of the agriculture and the power of fire. As Massimo Montanari reminds us, bread is made with work, with a lot of work. We first prepare the ground for planting, we sow the wheat, we wait for it to grow, then we harvest it, we separate the grain from the husk, we grind it to obtain the flour. Finally, we mix the flour with water and let the dough rise, of course, adding yeast. And we wait a little and bake it, carefully measuring the heat of the flame. So, bread, what we consider maybe the simplest food, is actually the final product of a long and complex process that involves abilities, techniques, and knowledge. It is very Italian to say buono come il pane, as good as bread. Italians identify goodness directly with bread. In fact, there is nothing better than freshly baked bread for Italian people. This means that when Italians think of goodness, Italians are not referring to something original, something that exists in nature, but on the contrary, to a product that humans with imagination and work can create. Nature can always be improved. We learn its secrets and use them for our advantage. This is what bread tells us. Its goodness is directly connected to human ability. It is a product of human intelligence. That's why bread has always been represented as a symbol of civilization, an element that distinguishes not only man from animals, but also man from man, the civilized ones from those we used to call barbarians, identified as meat eaters. For Homer, for example, bread eaters is a synonym of man. For the ancient Greeks, those who did not eat bread were considered barbarians. In fact, in order to eat bread, you have to grow crops, harvest grains, and so on. So, bread was a food that was eaten by settled town and city people as opposed to nomads. Ready access to bread was a sign of abundance of a urban living. So when Homer called Greeks bread eaters, he wanted to mark the superiority of his own people. Think how in the past the social contrast between rich people and poor people could be measured on the kind of bread eaten. The poor could only afford the black one, made with the poor grain, while the rich the white and refined bread. Or think about the role of bread and its symbolic value in different religions and the various ways of producing it according to specific beliefs. So bread tell us our story, talk about social, political, and religious contrast as well. As Jean-Louis Flandrin in L'Histoire de l'Alimentation pointed out, the extraordinary symbolic value given to bread would not be possible without the excellence of the product, would be inconceivable without the high intrinsic value of it. In other words, without its goodness, taste, and gastronomic quality. In fact, before becoming a symbolic element, bread was really concretely considered for a long time the best of foods. Ancients believed that bread contained all flavors and so all food qualities and a perfect combination. For example, Vincenzo Tanara, an Italian nobleman, in 1653, in his book entitled L'economia del cittadino in villa, states that bread, unlike other foods, contain all of the food qualities: delicacy, sweetness, acidity, saltiness, smell, and a tasty bitterness in a perfect combination. Bread is so essential in Italian food culture that Italians have a word to identify altogether what is not bread, everything else. The word is companatico and indicates anything that goes with bread, clear sign of the preeminence of bread over all other foods in Italian gastronomic culture. If you think that companatico has the same root as the word compagno, companion, someone you share your bread with, you get the idea of the place bread holds in the Italian food culture. There are over 350 varieties of bread in Italy. All Italian regions from Lombardy to Sicily have their unique bread heritage. Many breads are exclusively local products. A lot of them became nowadays well known and available in the entire peninsula. Some of them conquered the international market and are now available abroad. Among all, there are some of superior quality that obtain an European certification of quality label, PDO, meaning Protected Designation of Origin, and PGI, Protected Geographical Indication. Pane di Altamura, PGI, Pane Toscano, PDO, Piadina Romagnola, PGI, are among these products. These labels allow the consumer to know with certainty the origin and the characteristic of the bread they buy, and they represent also a guarantee for the producers themselves against any imitation. But as I said, there are over 350 varieties of bread in Italy, and I'm sure that you are familiar with some of them. Maybe you haven't tasted, but I'm sure you have heard about focaccia. This popular flat oven baked bread, originally from Liguria, is usually seasoned with olive oil, salt, and sometimes herbs. Focaccia can be used as a side to many entries or a base for sandwich bread. Or what about ciabatta, originally from Veneto? Still a flat bread, but less oily than focaccia with a harder texture. You can now find ciabatta in most bakeries and grocery stores in the United States. It is usually used as regular bread, as a side to many entries, and for sandwiches. and taralli, originally from Apulia, that have a ring shape. This bread is traditionally made with white wine and fennel seeds. Taralli are often served as appetizers, usually with cheese or cured meat. And what about piadina, originally from Romagna, a soft, very thin, unleavened flatbread? It can be eaten hot or cold, and it is ideal to be filled with meat or cheese. Then we have the famous grissini, originally from Piedmont. Um, like taralli, they're often served as appetizers, usually with cheese, or wrapped with prosciutto. And pane carasau, originally from Sardinia, a twice baked flatbread that may last up to 1 year, also known as a carta di musica, sheet music, because of its extremely thin paper-like quality. And last but not least, the panettone, originally from Milan, Lombardy, a type of sweet bread loaf with candied fruits and raisins, prepared and served mainly on Christmas holiday.